Hey, I'm Spider-Man. You'd think after saving New York, someone could make a decent brand new day poster. I saw it and thought, wow, did a pigeon design this? I fight supervillains, not bad graphic design. So, I called Hashir. I saved New York, he saves my reputation. Please, don't make me look like I got defeated by Microsoft Paint.
Alright guys, welcome back to the editing screen. Let's just begin our edit. I edited the foreground first by placing the road and masking it out properly. Then I moved to the city background to create more depth and stronger visual dynamics. I used pin blur to separate the background and make the scene feels more cinematic. I also added some texture to the foreground to bring it to life. Then I placed a dramatic sky in the background. Adjusted the colors to blend it naturally into the scene and matched the blur values as well. Then I introduced the boys as Hulk and Spidey, standing side by side in an action-packed composition. I edited some background elements like flying cars and a truck at the top, then applied motion blur to create more depth and the feeling of destruction. Let me show you the car blending process. First I adjusted the exposure, then I opened color balance, pushed the midtones towards red and yellow, switched to the shadows and added some blue, and finally reduced the red and blue in the highlights. Since the car was already blue, I wanted it to react naturally with the warm sunset lighting. Time to add a strong light source to give the entire artwork a rich, cinematic atmosphere. I added some small rocks, then I imported a wheel rim because I wanted Spidey to hold it, making it look like he's about to attack Hulk with it. We'll come back to that in a second. Then I repeated the same blending process we used on the previous layers. I also added the same motion blur to the wheel so it feels like it's flying at full speed. Now let's get to the Hulk's part. I enhanced his shadows and highlights, added some extra highlights to his hair, then applied motion blur. After that I painted on the mask to remove the blur. Then I added green and white solid layers to make his eyes glow. Coming back to Spidey, I built his model using custom textures and a lot of blending techniques, including bevel and emboss, hue and saturation, and tons of hand painted details. After spending nearly 9 hours pushing heavy detail, I was finally satisfied with the results. Lighting played a huge role in the making of the suit believable, so I adjusted everything according to the scene. Once that was done, more practical shadows slightly desaturated the colors, refined everything with color balance and finished it with realistic highlights. Lastly, I used camera raw filter, boosting the textures and grain to make everything look sharper and more detailed. At this point, the scene looked a little too dark with deep contrast, so I balanced everything using haze and smoky effects. Then I added some glass debris overlays. That looks pretty sick. Next, I added broken concrete poles, rocks, and more damaged elements using the same blending procedure. It wouldn't be complete without some Spider-Man web effects and subtle lens flare. Now it actually looks like Hulk has been webbed, and it adds so much more action and atmosphere to the artwork. I couldn't ignore the road since it's one of the main focus areas, so I gave it some extra love. You can clearly see how much realistic it looks with just the simple adjustments. And once I added those huge shattered to the ground, that's the icing on the cake. I took one final look and noticed an empty spot, so I placed an aerial view building there for a little extra visual impact. Then I added one final color balance adjustment on top to shift the overall color mode into something more cinematic and appealing. Finally, I dropped the entire artwork into camera raw filter and worked on the final grading. Let me quickly toggle the before and after so you can clearly see the difference. I mainly adjusted the highlights, effects, color mixtures, color grading, and calibration banner. Then I added the logo, and there you go. Now, let's see Tom's reaction to this masterpiece.
What? Hold up. Why do I look like the final boss instead of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Well, this is pretty sick. Hold up, subscribe to Illusion Design, guys, or I'm gonna web you to the nearest lamppost. And don't forget to watch Spider-Man, brand new day in cinemas, because if it flops, they're gonna make me deliver pizzas again. Alright, we out.